Welcome back to the London Christmas Tournament Expert Division opening round, hole number 7. This is option number 2. It is a free-to-play option. You can use a King Slayer or Kingmaker on this shot. And with that being said, because there is a wide wind strength range and also a wide wind angle range, it makes this free to play shot a little more complicated and tweak heavy. So if you find this to be too complicated, my recommendation would be option 1. Even though it's not really that bad, you do have to pay attention to a couple of things because we're pulling to different areas into the bunker. And just like option 1, dropping this shot is very dependent on where our first bounce lands in the rough. So we need to be pretty precise with our pull. We also need to be pretty precise with the amount of OP or underpower that we use on this shot. It's virtually the same setup with a couple of changes. We're going to be using a Guardian 8+ here, Kingmaker or King Slayer. The adjustment is P3 plus 15% max numbers, 4.7 backspin, 1 right spin. And with spin added, what we're going to do is have the ball guide aim center cup at the bottom of the +5. So you'll push up just until it clicks over from 4 to 5, which is very close to the edge of the rough like the sniper shot, except it's a couple of clicks into the rough, okay? So very bottom of the +5. If your wind is 7.9 or less, you want to aim center cup. If your wind is 8+ miles an hour, you want to have the right side of the ball guide touching the left side of the stick at the bottom of the +5. And you also are going to want to add 0.2 to your adjustment for winds 8+ miles an hour, okay? Now, you need to pay attention to where the rough line falls in your rings after you adjust, okay? So, just like option 1, where the sand meets the rough on the top is the reference that I'm giving you. So when I say, pulls, I'll tell you between this ring and this ring. This one's a little more complicated because it's not on a ring line, it's half ring lines. And it just kind of makes it seem a little more complicated than it really is. But 4.7 backspin, 1 right spin. So bottom of the +5. I actually set up a click high here. But I got the right side of the ball guide touching the left side of the stick. And ring references are as follows. So if you pull less than a half a ring into the bunker, meaning your green ring is touching the rough in any way, then you need 1 click of underpower. If the rough line is between the green ring and half of the red ring, right? Between here and here in this area, then you need no underpower, no overpower, okay? If it's between the top half of the red and the bottom half of the blue in this area, then you need 2 clicks of overpower. If you adjust and the rough line is between anything above the top half of the blue into the clear, then you need 1 click of overpower. If your wind is 8+ mile an hour, you'll need 2 clicks of. All right, let me rephrase that. If you adjust and the rough line is between half the blue or above, then you need 1 click of overpower for winds 8+ mile an hour and 2 clicks of overpower for winds 7.9 or lower. And the reason for that is there is a piece of rough that juts out into the bunker here, and when you have higher wind, you're actually adjusting up a slope here, right? So you don't need as much overpower. If you have the lower wind, you're adjusting to a deeper part into the bunker, and that causes you to need an extra click of overpower, just so you understand why it's like that. But it's not really that complicated. We're basically doing overpower based on ring references, and that is where this rough line falls in your rings. Like, so right here, I'm just above the blue into the clear. I have an 8.4 mile an hour wind, right? So I need 1 click of OP for this shot. You see here, I accidentally had a click of left curl as well, and you're going to see it comes in the left edge. But that's because I was running out of time. I didn't see that I had that click of OP till I went back and looked at it. I mean, that click of left curl, sorry. So that was an accidental click of left curl. It came in left side. That's exactly what I would expect it to do. But practice this one a couple of times, and you do have a good chance of walking away from hole number 7 with a free-to-play hole-in-one. P3 plus 15% max, 4.7 back, 1 right. You want to set up at the bottom of the +5. If your wind is 8+ mile an hour, that's another thing. I was 8.4 there. I added 0.2 to that adjustment, okay? If your wind is anything 8 or above, don't forget to add 0.2 to your adjustment, and then use the underpower or overpower as needed per ring references that I gave you. And hopefully you're walking away from this one with the hole-in-one. The Wind 5 option 1 is very similar to this, slightly less complicated and slightly more consistent. I recommend that one. If you have the ability to play it, that's what I would recommend playing. Although this one is good, it just takes a little more paying attention. So good luck. I hope you get the drop. We'll catch you on the next one. Make sure you're pulling as straight as possible.